Hi everyone, it's Anthony Mathenia. I'm the writer and the colorist for the comic book The Human Wrestler. And a couple of people from my local group, Stash Publishing, that I make comics with, have asked me to do a walkthrough of my color flatting process. And rather than type it out, I decided I would make a video. So you're welcome to eavesdrop, peek in as I color or do the flats of page 22 of The Human Wrestler. I'm working with a black and white line art image by artist Barry Lincoln. The mode for the image is grayscale, and it's in 600 dpi, which I work with. To start out, I want to duplicate this line art. So I right click on my layer in my layers, and I duplicate that. I'm going to call this layer the ink. And I'm also going to rename this bottom one, this background layer, as the color layer. The reason for creating the two layers is when I do my comic coloring, I'll have my ink, my lines, my black lines as a separate layer than the colors. What I want to do is, on this top ink layer, is get rid of all the white. I just want the black lines to remain. So to do that, I go to my channels menu, and there is only one channel because it is a grayscale image, so that one's selected, and I go down here to load channel as selection and click that, and I go back to my layers menu. Now what this has done is selected all the white. So since all the white is selected, I can just hit the delete key on my keyboard, and that is going to remove all the white, leaving just the black behind. And I'll show you what that looks like if I turn off that color layer. See, I just have the black lines. So we're going to be working on this color layer, so I'm going to lock that layer. We don't want to do anything in there. It's just going to sit on top and be our ink lines on top of the page. So for my color layer, in order to color, we need to change the mode from grayscale to CMYK color. It's going to ask me, do I want to merge? And I don't want to merge this. Again, I want my ink layer and my color layer to remain separate, so I hit don't merge. So now it is changing the color mode. I can begin to flat. And I used to flat by hand, doing combination of selecting areas and using the fill bucket or using the pencil tool. It would take maybe about 4 hours to flat a page, and it was super tedious work. What I've discovered is a filter by BPelt, which speeds up this process. Now I can flat an entire page in 5 minutes. So if I go to the filter menu, I go down to BPelt, and I'm going to pull up the Multifill. Now you can download this for free at his website, BPelt.com. And what this filter does, it takes all this white area and gives it a random color. Now you can change what color palette it pulls from, but because it's random, I don't see much point in doing that. This join areas box, it's an important box to use, and I'll show you an example of how it works in a little bit. But basically, if you've got a lot of line art that's super detailed, like with some cross hatching and that, it's going to treat every little individual white area as its own color, and maybe you don't want that. Maybe you've got like someone's wearing a jacket and it's got like all this tweed cross hatching, and it's really supposed to be just one color. You don't want this rainbow of colors on the jacket. Well, you would adjust this so it would treat all of that as a solid block of color instead of individual areas. I've got this set to 1,000, so anything less than any area less than 1,000 pixels join to its neighboring. You'll have to play with this depending on the kind of line art you're using, the kind of resolution you have your file in. But this is where I have it set for Barry's line art, which is pretty clean. So I hit OK, and it's going to begin the process here of changing all the white to a rainbow assortment of colors that looks like something, yeah, like a psychedelic poster maybe. So right now we've got a ink layer and a color layer, but the problem with our color layer is it contains ink lines. We don't want that. We just want blocks of color in our color layer. So in order to get rid of the black, there is another filter, also by BPelt. It's called Flatten Pro. So we're going to click on that. And what this is going to do is it's going to expand all these areas of color to take over the black and remove all those black lines. Now this filter costs $99 for the registered version. It was totally worth the investment. Again, this process that I'm showing you now used to take me 4 hours of having to do it by hand. This takes 5 minutes. He does have a trial version, which you can use on a low resolution file. Probably not anything that's print ready, but if you want to play around and see how it works for you, you can do that. So, what we have now is a color layer that has no black lines and an ink layer which is only black lines. That is exactly what we want. So let's look at this picture. This is probably not what you want unless you are doing a psychedelic poster, then maybe it's exactly what you want. But what we want to do is start putting in the actual flat colors that we're going to use. And this point from here on, it's fairly simple. I use the fill bucket. The tolerance is set at 0 because I'm going to be filling in just solid blocks of color. Anti-alias is not checked. You never want to use anti-alias when you're doing your flats. So I've selected this color here, which I use for human skin. And I can begin changing this motley assortment of colors into something that is more human-like. Ha 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 ha, get it? Get rid of his nice Oompa Loompa. Or, not Oompa Loompa, the Blueberry Girl. Violet skin tone. So here's something I want to show you. That join area tool or selection on that multi-fill filter I showed you about. This is this area here is less than 1,000 pixels, so it has treated this as one, even though you have individual areas here within the black. So that's how that program works. Now here it really didn't matter, but again, if I had some really intense line art with some cross-hatching and stuff like that, that tool or that selection is very important to get good results. So to finish this up, we're just going to concentrate up here in this first panel. I'll show you just really how quickly and easy it is to change. We've got here our fake Abraham Lincoln stand-in. He gets a bit of a blotchy white skin tone. Give him his pukey brown hair. Color his Doctor Who bow tie. Cornflower blue shirt. Collar trim there. Grab a suit. Let's see. It's the carpet color. It's the road color. Human's ratty salmon colored robe. And the door. I like this color for the door better. Door. The night sky. Use that for the wall for now. And change the border, panel borders to white. Okay. So we're going to go in here and color his fingernails. Now because there was a break in the line right there, that fingernail got colored as flesh tone. So we can't use our fill bucket, or else it'll do that, color his whole hand, that fingernail color. So instead, I'm going to use my pencil tool. You don't want to use the brush tool because it's anti-aliased. You want to use the pencil tool. Get this finger here, and this flesh tone, that finger there. A little mud. Let's go up here and work on Abraham Lincoln's eyes. Now, I'll show you a different way to do these areas. Instead of using the pencil tool like that, you can use the polygon selection like this, and just use the fill bucket. Alternatively, you can use the lasso. Just select that area. Again, use the fill bucket. I haven't done the historical research yet to know what color Lincoln's eyes should be, so I'm just going to make them a nice blue right now. And his gigantic maul. Just going to give it that color for now. Now when I flat a page, I'll start with some colors, but I tend to change them. But the good part about doing the flats like this is it's very easy to change down the line. If at some point I decide, you know what, this color blue is not fitting the overall scheme for the page, it needs to be a green, it's really that easy to change. So there we have it. We have the completed flats for panel 1 of page 22 of the Human Wrestler. The rest of the process of the page would go very similar, and it would probably take about 30 minutes to do the whole page. Once I have my flat layer, then I will add additional layers to build upon that with cell shading and highlights and textures and things like that. But the flat layer, that's just kind of the base layer to get things started. I appreciate you guys looking in and following along. Be sure to like Stash Publishing on Facebook, and also check out The Human Wrestler. It's about a low-level hack minor league wrestler who goes into outer space to wrestle in an intergalactic league and has to fight a whole bunch of crazy aliens to get back home to his love, Rosita. Thanks, everyone.